She was probably getting her back blown out or something, right? I already know the game, so I don't really entertain.
She's not yours. It's just your turn. A phrase commonly reset in this niche and in this community itself. But here we got a story of a guy who apparently had his chick stolen by NBA star Carmelo Anthony. Now, I've met Carmelo Anthony. Very chill dude. I met him totally by accident in a building in Manhattan. Very cool dude. So I can imagine how this is going to play out if based off the interactions that I had with him, if it plays out the way that I'm thinking, then this is going to happen regardless. But anyway, I think it's important to note here right before I play the video is that it's important to consider the context, right? Where you meet women is often telling to their character. And that's not me saying women are bad or anything of that nature, but you can't be surprised that you met a promiscuous woman at the club. That just doesn't make any sense. So we're gonna listen to this story by Southpaw Honcho. I'll post the original in the description below, and let's get into it.
This is the story of how an NBA superstar, yeah, you heard that shit right, an NBA superstar that all of you guys know stole my chick. All right, I really wasn't gonna name drop, but Carmelo Anthony from the New York Knicks, number 7, I think. What's up, bro? So you guys are gonna want to pay attention because this is kind of a funny story. So one of the nights that I was bouncing, right, back in the days, it was a Friday night. And as you guys know, Friday nights are never as good as Saturday nights, right? But Friday nights still get popping once in a while. So I was there, you know what I'm saying, working my security job, doing my thing. And in walks this girl who's about like 5'2", dark, very dark curly hair, Latina, you know what I'm saying, slim thick. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about, bro. That slim, thick, pretty young thing. And she was very young too, right? She was like barely 21. Like I was doubting whether or not she was 21, but the bouncer had let her in. The guy at the front door had let her in. So I was like, okay, she's got to be 21, right? But she was a bad chick, bro. I'm talking about she would turn heads when she would walk. You know what I'm saying? That dark curly hair, 5'2" max. You know what I'm saying? Probably like 140 maybe. But she was slim thick, bro. Slim thick as hell. And she had guys coming up to her the whole night, right? Because I was...
Here's what I want to say real quick. Just real quick. 140 at 5'2"? I don't know how slim thick that is. I'm just being honest. Listen, dimensions vary between bodies, but 140 at 5'2"? I don't know. I think she's a little more thick than slim, but that's neither here nor there.
Kind of keeping my eye on her and shit. So I realized that she had guys coming up to her the whole night. And I realized that she was waving all of them off, right? Like she wouldn't entertain anyone. She wouldn't talk to them. She wouldn't want to dance with no one. And when I saw that shit, I was like, yeah, I'm interested. I'm highly interested, right? Because I like exclusive shit, bro. All them women that talk to all the dudes and smile at everybody and go out and dance with everybody, that's not my type of woman, right? I was interested in this chick, right? Apart from the fact that she was probably like a 10, bro. A straight 10, beautiful as fuck. But she was turning down the guys, so that kind of piqued my interest. I was like, you know what? I'm curious to know if she's going to turn me down, right? Because I was very confident, right, that I was going to have success. So the night is progressing. She's turning down dudes, and I start keeping my eye on her, you know what I'm saying? Because I kind of want to let her know, listen, I see that you're there. I'm looking at you. What's up? You know what I'm saying? I'm kind of testing her eye contact a little bit. She looks at me like once or twice, you know what I'm saying? But nothing serious. So I was like, all right, I'm not going to make an approach. I'm going to just keep it G, keep it play, right? And as I go to the bathroom and I'm walking out, she's actually walking towards the bathroom. So we're walking towards each other, right? And as we're walking towards each other, I make sure to give her eye contact, and then I look her down, up. It was like a 3 to 4 second eye contact stare, right? And she looks at me like down to up, right? So I know that she knows that I'm looking at her because she let me know that she was looking at me. And at that point, I already told myself, okay, when she comes out the bathroom, I'm going to say something to her, right? Because I see all these dudes having no success. And since I'm super confident, I was like, bro, she's gonna dig it, bro. She's going to be with it. So I wait till she got out of the bathroom. And then when she comes out the bathroom, as she's walking towards me, I walk towards her and say, hey, if you keep looking at me like that, we're going to have a problem. You know what I'm saying? If you keep looking at me like that, we're going to have a problem. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of what I opened with. And we had a little conversation and shit. And I managed to get her number, right? At this point, I'm feeling kind of pumped. I'm excited because I'm not going to lie, bro. This chick was bad as fuck.
All right, so already off the bat, we've got two fatal flaws. The first one I think is a little more telling than the second one, but the first one being his ideal of her, or his perception of her, was solely based on her look and her minor interactions with other men. Now, I could understand the assumption that, oh, she's turning them down, maybe I'll have success. I get that, but at the same time though, my assumption here is that because he's blinded by his own hubris, he didn't have the discernment, or he didn't necessarily have the gumption. This is not me calling him stupid. Southpaw, if you're watching this, I don't think you're dumb. Shit, I probably would have made the same mistake too. I mean, he said she was a 5'2" Latina. That's all I needed to hear. But no, on a serious note, guys, we gotta take our time, right? Like, you can't try to run into these scenarios with these preconceived notions because you end up getting burned. Sometimes literally. But in this case, I think that was his first fatal flaw. The idea that, not so much that he thinks he had a chance, because I wouldn't say that to anyone. I think we all have a chance with just about anyone if we approach it correctly. Now, does the relationship last? That's a whole nother conversation. But I wouldn't say like, no, you don't have a chance at approaching her. But I think he could have spent more time trying to understand who this person is and really seeing if it's even worth continuing the pursuit, because he did get the number, right? But seeing if it's really worth continuing this pursuit, I think, was the most important thing. The second fatal flaw, he asked for the number. Gentlemen, I know what you're saying right now, but search. He asked for the number and she gave it to him. Of course she's interested. That's not true. That's not true, fam. Hold on, I gotta adjust my seat. Side note, my seat is fucked up. If y'all wanna buy me a seat, send me a super chat. Hit up the Venmo, hit up the Cash App. But no, seriously, just because she gave you her number doesn't necessarily mean that she's interested. To be quite honest with you, a lot of times people just give out their number just to end the conversation. Me personally, I think it's always a much better idea. Like, yeah, you could ask for the number, but I think asking for the Instagram is a much better idea, simply because you can make judgments. They may not be correct, but you can make to some degree, some judgment on that person's personality and character based off of what they post and who they follow. I think that's very important. You know, not necessarily saying you have to scroll through her followers, but I think it's very important to get an idea as to who you might be talking to, because a lot of people these days are nothing more than talking heads for some of the people that they follow on social media platforms. And this isn't meant to sound insulting, but ironically enough, and I know we can make the argument that guys do this too, but ironically enough, I find that women oftentimes reverberate some of the same regurgitated lines that a lot of these other women say. And same thing definitely does go for men, but I'm just saying it also happens, I think, more often with women. But let's continue.
And she was young as like, she was like barely 21, like, and that's when these chicks be looking their best. So she was like prime time, baby. Hair on point, body on point, slim, thick as fuck, bro, just perfect. And that's like my type, you know what I'm saying? Like darker, a little darker skin than me. I like them darker than me and slim, thick like that too, and Latina and the curly hair and shit. So I was like, yeah, this is my type. I'm gonna see what's up with her. So during the week, I start kind of texting her, right? And she's like non-responsive. She's not really paying attention to my texts and shit. So that's when I tell myself, you know what? I'm gonna just let this shit go, man. Because at the end of the day, if she's not really replying to me, she ain't with it. And that's what I tell a lot of guys is if she's not replying to your text, bro, she sees it. She's just not with it, right? But she
Exactly.
would reply. She would just reply like 8 hours later. Or maybe I text her in the nighttime and she would reply to me the next day. She was probably getting her back blown out or some shit, right? I already know the game, so I don't really entertain it too much. I think I had like 2 conversations with her over that week. But then I told myself, yeah, she's not really invested in the conversation. I could tell because her responses, she's not interested. So I'm like, yeah, it's all good. I'm gonna just let this shit go, right? So next week she pulls up on a Friday again. So I'm like, damn, bro, this chick is here because of me. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm thinking. I'm automatically thinking like, all right.
Bro, and this is where a lot of guys go wrong. Some of y'all are so arrogant. I mean that. And don't be offended by it because it's normal. It's normal to assume if you are a relatively handsome guy doing well for himself, it's easy to assume that women will just be into you. But listen to what he said before the statement. He said that the conversation wasn't even edifying. In other words, she's replying to him 8 hours later, not giving him, thoughtful, well thought out answers. To me, that is a clear indication that I'm wasting my time. And this is why I said earlier, just because she gives you the number doesn't necessarily mean that she's interested in you. Because the way she communicates with you after you get the number is telling to how she might actually feel about you. And yeah, one can make the argument that, they just met, so obviously the conversation isn't going to have that much depth to it. But to a certain degree, there's got to be some sort of like leveling up in a sense where you go from being strangers to amicable acquaintances, and then from there, the decision is made as to how that relationship goes. Oftentimes it's already decided upon meeting people, which is probably why he was getting the answers he was getting anyway. But super important, guys. Don't assume just because you got the number, now all of a sudden she's yours. And the next thing he said, I think, was completely, not asinine, but redundant. Like, bro, you really thought she came to the club for you? Fam, she's not even answering your text messages. Like, what would give you that idea? If anything, I would assume, oh, she's coming back to the club because maybe she feels she can get something from this. I mean, that's foreshadowing because she does. But I wouldn't assume she's there for me. That's arrogant as fuck. And it's not wrong, but it's a miscalculation, and a grave miscalculation. Because oftentimes guys see this as a challenge as opposed to the woman just not being interested. And they're not going to tell you that outright. Like, unless she's really on some, like, I don't like you, get the fuck away from me. Women aren't necessarily going to tell you outright, I don't like you. Like, they'll let you come to that conclusion on your own. Oftentimes, and I'll say this last piece before I play it. Oftentimes, some women in some relationships, instead of breaking it off because they don't want conflict, which is normal, most humans don't want conflict unless you're a crash out dummy like me, who is always open for the smoke. And when that happens, they leave it to you to allow the relationship to erode. So oftentimes guys are like, oh, my chick is acting funny, things are not going the way they were. Yeah, bro, she's trying to get out the relationship and she wants you to cut it off. Understand that. Have a conversation, of course, don't assume. But if the conversation leads to that general direction of like, yeah, she's getting cold feet, or, she might want to jump out, dog, just let it go. Let it go. And that applies for even with women that you might encounter off rip. Like, if you're chasing her and you're getting vague messages, she doesn't like you, fam.
This shit cold up because of me. Because I'm not going to lie, that shit would happen a lot when these chicks would literally just pull up a second time so I could pick them up again. I'm just being real, bro. I'm not even trying to be cocky. That's just how it was, you know what I'm saying? So that's what I was thinking. Like, oh, she's coming here because she wants to see me, you know what I'm saying? And she just wants me to holler at her type shit. Because she was turning down a bunch of dudes. So whatever. I ain't paying her much attention, right? Because she had been kind of ignoring my texts almost. So I just didn't pay her too much attention. And then I managed to say like hi to her as the night was ending, right? And then we ended up talking for like a very little bit. And she ended up like just propping up and giving me a kiss on the cheek, right? And at this point, I'm like, fuck, bro. Like, I'm that dude. Like, this shit is all me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm already, like, thinking, like, yeah, I'm gonna just get at her, bro. You know what I'm saying? So, as I get off work, like, 4:30 in the morning, I hit her up and shit. But she don't reply till the next day, right? I feel like she was probably getting her back blown out by somebody afterwards or some shit. So, I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna entertain this shit no more. Because this thinks I'm stupid. You know what? Like, she was playing with me. Like, she wanted to keep me, like, engaged in the situation. But she probably had situations going on. So I already pieced it together, right? Next week, she pulls up again. But this time she pulls up on a Saturday. And it's popping, bro. Saturday's popping. Oh, no,
not Saturday.
This shit is like, lit as fuck. A bunch of people. So she pulls up, and I'm like, yeah, bro, this is going to be the time. Third time is the charm. I'm already feeling like this is the time where I'm just going to get in my groove and shit. So everything's going great, you know what I'm saying? I say what's up to her, you know what I'm saying? She's smiling at me and she's touching on me a little bit and shit, and I'm feeling myself. Because she was turning down a bunch of dudes, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, I'm really him, bro. And it's about like 11:45, almost 12 o'clock that night. And I get a call on the radio, and my boss says, we have Carmelo Anthony pulling up to the club. I want you to come to my office. So I'm like, what the fuck? Carmelo Anthony? You talking about like the basketball player? So my boss tells me, yo, listen, we got Melo Anthony pulling up. He's going to be with a couple of the Knicks. We got him a little section over here. And I want you to be his security for the night, right? I want you to be with him. Anybody who takes pictures or videos, I want you to take their fucking phones and don't give it back to them, right? That's specifically what Carmelo Anthony had told the club owner. I think it was because he was going through some situation with his girl at the time or some shit. This was like I forget, man. This was 2021? I forget exactly when, but it was around that time. And he was like, listen, anybody takes pictures or videos, you snatch their phones, and you take that shit. I was like, all right, yes, sir. As soon as he told me that, though, I was like, oh, I already know what's going to happen, bro. Melo Anthony's going to pull up, and he's going to try to pull that bitch. I already know, because she was just the baddest bitch there by far. Like, it wasn't even close. So I already knew what was going to happen, bro. So I was like, all right. I wasn't salty or nothing. I was just excited to see what was going to happen. Because it was also that I want to put her to the test. I wanted to see what she was going to do, right? So we got Carmelo Anthony coming in. He's not even that tall, bro. He's like 6'4", max. Because he was like barely tall. He was like 1 inch taller than me, right? He pulls up with Julius Randle, name drop, and a couple other Knicks, but they all got their hoodies on, bro. You know what I'm saying? And this time Melo got like the cornrows, I think, I think it was cornrows. So he's looking different. He lost weight too, so he was kind of skinny. I didn't think a lot of people would recognize him, but he had his hoodie on because he was trying to hide, right? So they got their section, you know what I'm saying, in that corner, and I'm standing in front of that section trying to make sure, like, if anybody's taking out their phones or shit, you know what I'm saying? And I know that these guys are there to pull women, you know what I'm saying? I know that they're there to pull women. So I see that they start looking on the dance floor, right? They start looking around and shit. So I'm already thinking, okay, they're going to try to pull this chick over here. And it's all cool because I don't hate the player. I hate the game. Don't hate the player, hate the game. It's all good. So as the time progresses, maybe like 20 to 30 minutes later, once they're in their VIP section, I literally just walk over, right? I walk over and grab that girl by her hand and just walk her into the VIP section. But before I walk her into the VIP section, I tell her, hey, Carmelo Anthony's here, right? And she looks at me like, what? And I'm like, yeah, that's him. So I literally just gifted her to him, right? And this was kind of a test, too, because I wanted to see what she was going to do. And obviously, she stayed in that VIP section for like 2 hours, right?
Gentlemen, let's get one thing monstrously clear. Testing a woman you don't know or barely know does not work in your favor. Like, it does not work. You can clearly tell here, based off of everything that he said up until this point, where this was gonna go. Just imagine if you were a woman. Okay, here I am interacting with a man I don't know, I'm not familiar with, right? I don't know what he does. I mean, so you could probably guess that he's a bouncer because he's always there, right? But, you know, for the most part, not really sure who he is. Just basic, general shit, right? And then this man turns to me, if, let's say I was a woman in this example, right? This man turns to me and tells me that a superstar athlete is chilling in the back and you're bringing me to him? Dog, what did you think was gonna happen? There's no foundation set for her to even say like the loyalty is tested. Like, okay, I could understand if you try to do something like that with a relationship, maybe like 3, 4 to 5 years down the line, and you want to take the next step, but you're like not sure, so perhaps you think this is a good way to do it. Yeah, that would make sense. But if you're gonna go ahead and test someone that you don't know, they're not going to just automatically submit loyalty to you just because you assume you're that dude. And this is where a lot of guys go wrong. I'm convinced that a majority of these relationships go wrong simply because a lot of us guys are blinded, not so much by what our ideals are, but blinded by the little bits of information that we receive from a woman and then assume all we see or that little interaction is the complete or the whole picture of said woman. You can't have that kind of judgment with man or woman. As humans are so dynamic in thinking and personality. Are some people NPCs? Absolutely. But for the most part, people are largely unpredictable. Now, if that scares you, that makes sense and that's fine. But at the same time though, if anything, that should just arm you to be a bit smarter with your approach. My personal opinion, again, if I was a woman and you brought me to go meet a superstar, what the fuck you think I'm gonna do? You think I like being poor? Like, you think I like being pretty and poor? Who the fuck likes that? My handsome brothers out there who've got no money in their pockets. You like this shit? You like being good looking and poor? I don't think so. So if someone presented you the opportunity to potentially gain some affluency, I'm pretty sure you would take it.
Drinking, they ordered some bottles and shit, having a good time with they got a couple more girls in there, right? But none of them were as good looking as her. So I was just chilling there, you know what I'm saying? And I was kind of playing psychology on her, right? Because if I'm literally handing her to him, it's almost telling her, hey, I get beautiful women all the time. I don't really give a fuck about you like that. Like, fuck off. You know what I'm saying? That was kind of the energy and the vibe that I wanted her to get, right? And by the time it was like 1:30, 2 o'clock, Carmelo Anthony just passed me on the shoulder, and he's like, yo, we out, bro. Thank you. So he's leaving through the side entrance, right? And at this time, I'm trying to peep the side entrance because I lost my eye on the chick, right? But I want to see who's leaving with him. I want to see if this chick is going to literally leave with Carmelo Anthony that same night, right? So as they're leaving the side entrance, I see her that she's leaving there too. And I'm like, oh, man. Look me at its finest, right? She's going home with the guy. And I don't blame none of them, bro, because he's just trying to get some ass. And she's trying to get her back blown out and some clout. I get it, bro. So there's no hate. But that's when I realized, like, yeah, bro. Hate the game, not the player, bro. You know what I'm saying? So she left with him that night. I don't know what happened because I didn't really talk to her ever since. But she did end up pulling up again to the club, right? And that time that she ended up pulling up again, she was trying to, like, talk to me, like, pressure me, like, hardcore, right? And I think it was because of the psychology that I pulled on her, right? That I literally just pulled her over and just handed her to him. That kind of fucked with her mind. It was like, damn, this guy probably gets other bitches. Like, this is a high-quality guy, right? So that's kind of why I think she was, like, on my dick the next time that she pulled up to the club. But I didn't even pay attention to her. I didn't even say what's up to her. I was literally just ignoring her. She came up to me and talked to me, and I just looked at her and just kept walking like she wasn't even there. I wasn't interested at that point. Like, that shit to me is a turnoff. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, bro, that was pretty much the story that I had, bro. It was a lot of these women, bro, I'm not going to lie. And I don't blame them because I understand it, you know what I'm saying? But damn, leaving with him on the first night, that's how it is, bro. That's how it is out here in these streets. You know, I get a lot of comments on the channel talking about how, oh, those are only club girls. Those are only club girls. Bro, the majority of women act the same way. I'm not just talking about club girls, right? I would say that probably like 70% of women act the same, right? Hypergamous as fuck. They don't suppress it. The majority of women cheat. The majority of women lie. The majority of women don't like nice guys. The majority of women are like that. So when I talk about these club women, right, and I get these guys on the comments talking about how, oh, those are just some women. No, bro, those are just most women. Those are most fucking women, bro. And another thing, I get comments on this fucking channel talking about, oh, you should never take these girls seriously, or the club is not a place to look for a wife. Bro, when have I ever said that the club is a place to look for a fucking wife? When have I said that these girls are quality women? When have I said that these girls, you should date them seriously? When have I ever said that, right? So,
and this is where the story just kind of like divulges in itself. I think this take is dumb. Do I agree that most women could be hypergamous in nature? Yeah. But I would also say, just in general, humans are just opportunistic, you know, and the only thing that kind of impedes that mindset is having an actual foundational relationship with her. So to hear him go through this entire story and then say, oh, I wasn't taking her serious. So then why do all that? Why go out of your way to test her? Because I would assume if you're testing her, it's solely because you could potentially see a future with her. And then the next thing is, I don't necessarily subscribe to the idea that most women are like this. Are there some? Yeah. Would I say 70%? Probably not. Honestly, I'd say maybe like 60-40. And yeah, you might argue with me and say like, oh, that's not a big difference. That's a huge difference if you really look at the numbers, right? And again, context matters here. You met her at the club, so you decided to test like a club-going woman who obviously someone who's into that lifestyle, when they see a high-profile individual, they're going to gravitate to them. And people just gravitate to high profile individuals in general anyway. Like, you know, the funny thing about groupies is that for as much as you think women are hardcore groupies, when I used to make music, I had some groupies. Not a lot. They weren't the hottest, but I had some. You know, it was cool. But here's what I would say. For every female groupie, there's a male who acts the same way. And I don't think we can continuously pin the entirety of that personality trait to solely women. I say this time and time again. What we're really dealing with is human personalities, human characters, emotions, etc. They're just wrapped in female woman flesh, right? And I'm not trying to make that sound crass either, but I'm just saying these are traits that are inheritable and essentially ubiquitous to every human on earth. What is the deciding factor for a lot of relationships? The foundation that has been set. So for you to go out of your way to test this woman that you barely know and then be upset about it, maybe not so much upset, but ruminating on it in a sense, because you can clearly tell based off of how he's describing her, he's calling her a bitch multiple times. I can understand, yeah, maybe that's just how you speak in general. But for me, I reserve bitch for women who deserve to be called a bitch. And I call men bitches. I think the majority of it is when you go out of your way to do things like this, you're inherently setting yourself up for failure. And it doesn't make sense to go out of your way to try and put people in certain psychological positions, because that was one of his main points, right? He was psychologically testing her. And we can make the argument and say that maybe it worked, right? Because based off of what he was saying, she approached him after the situation. Excuse me. So that leads me to believe that perhaps there was something going on that she had with Carmelo, maybe for a night, whatever. These things are normal, right? Casual encounters happen. But then she said, or thought to herself, you know, maybe it's worth going back there. And on top of that, who knows the intent of the conversation that she wanted to have with him anyway? Who knows if it could have been pseudo-romantic? Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just her saying, hello, how are you? Because to her, he might have just positioned himself as a friend because of what he did. So guys, if you're gonna go ahead and try and test a woman you just met, it's not gonna end well. And I would also say for guys that meet women and women test you upon initial interaction, you should be willing to fail that test, because what the fuck are you testing me for? I'm not here to be tested by you. I finished school a decade ago. I'm done with that. I don't need to be tested. What I need to do, what we need to do, is figure out if we're compatible. And that's the problem with a lot of people. A lot of people just assume because you have like this one initial interaction and it goes, you know, somewhat well, all of a sudden you guys are fucking bound by blood. That's not how any of this works. I think every man, or just anyone in general, but I think guys should get sales jobs. I have a sales background. And one thing I've learned in sales is that the relationship is never conclusive. Like, in other words, there will always be things for the relationship have to jump in regards to like hurdles and challenges and things of that nature. And the only thing that keeps people together is the willingness to wanting to work on those situations together. So testing someone you just met is not going to work because they haven't been in the trenches with you. You know what I mean? And the same thing for women that want to test men. You trying to test me is not going to work well for you because I don't know you. I don't owe you anything. And ultimately, that's where we all falter. We assume just because we're willing to be vulnerable and romantically open with people, they owe us something in return. We don't owe each other shit. And that's real. I'm not going to play the rest of the video because it's just like another 3 minutes of him rambling. Not rambling, but, you know, just talking. Southpaw, if you're watching this, first of all, I want to thank you so much for making this video because I think it's pretty insightful to just male psychology. And side note, sorry, fixing my chair. As a side note, I would also want to say that in no way, shape, or form do I think what you did was dumb. I don't think you're dumb either, because this is normal. This is something that I would have done when I was younger too. I think just being older now and understanding how humans operate in general has helped as to how I approach these situations. I would have never asked her for her number. I would have never given her over to Carmelo Anthony. Are you crazy? You're trying to secure the deal, not bring it to someone else. What are you, the middleman? Great. If that's what you want, good for you. But beyond that, no, man, this is not a good idea. Fellas, don't test women right away. What you should be doing is asking key questions that give insight to their character. And if those questions are suffice for you, you then take that information and observe everything that she does. Use that as a reference point. If her character was described and displayed in this fashion and her actions are now not congruent with that, cut it off. Cut it off. If she's not giving you full-on edifying answers to questions or just conversing with you in general, cut it off. You're ultimately wasting your time. But anyway, that's the video, guys. If you like this video, do me a favor. If you haven't been subscribed, there's like 94% of you that aren't subscribers, but you watch my videos. Bro, click the fucking subscribe button, please. I'm trying to hit 10K by spring, okay? And we're on the road. I want you to be a part of the community. Come on in, hit that subscribe button, share this video with a homie, and let's make this a discussion. You know, let's stop constantly just bickering back and forth, men and women just going back and forth at each other's necks. Let's have an actual constructive discussion that perhaps could form some sort of headway for the gender slash culture slash class war that we're all thrown into, whether we want to be willing participants or not. Anyway, that's the video. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.